There we go. Here we are. Lovely. Right, let me just tweak this whilst we're waiting for people to arrive. Whoopsie. Let me just also, I'm just curious because the light's a bit dark and I wonder if I put this one on. Little bit lighter, isn't it? That's better. Wonderful. So let's just wait for people to join and then we will start. So if you're watching this pre-recorded, oh, we've got a funny face. Can you not find me?
It just says waiting.
Oh, I'm live, it says. We're here to do the Jazzy Rose Flowers arrange along for the last, is it the last, no, it's not the last week in July, it's the third week in July, 21st of July. Just a second whilst we work out if there is an issue.
Fine, I'm doing it.
Reminds you
Not the day for technical issues.
No, if I'm logged in, it says I'm live there.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I'm back. Can you turn the volume down on that? Thanks. I'm back. We're joining. We had a little bit of a delay there. It didn't quite find us. So I can see there are a couple people here, but let's just wait a little bit longer. If you're here, say who you are. It's always nice to see who's here and where people are joining from. I know we've got Allotment Lucy sitting in the corner, as always, about to answer your questions. And we'll see how many of you, 4 people. So if there's anyone here watching, and you're new, welcome to the Arrange Along. And you have the chance to chat away to others and also to us. Any questions I probably can't see, I'll be doing this because I can't see them, because I have to have it quite far away in order for you to get a good visual. But Allotment Lucy will answer any questions she can. And yeah, so hopefully you have got your flowers from yesterday fully conditioned. So when they arrive, mine did look quite sad and I was a little bit worried, but I cut the stems off, ends of the stems, I washed all the gel off and I plunged them into lovely cool water in this exact glass, just like this. And this morning they were loads better. They'd revived and they were really, really, everything had gone rigid and strong and standing upright, so it was absolutely fine. But I do think that next week I'm going to put a bit more gel on the ends because I think that it was a particularly hot day and it's the hottest day that we've had for delivery of flowers, and I think that it needs a little bit more gel, so I'll be mindful of that next week. So we're going to be arranging them today, but before we do that, I did actually want to go to last week's bunch and I just want to show you what I do with bud vases. So I'm going to put these to one side. Hello, hello, hello. And then I'm going to take last week's bunch. So this is what they look like now. So they definitely are looking faded, but if you didn't have any flowers, so say you're getting them every, whenever you're getting your flowers, but you're not getting them every week, and you want to kind of keep some life in the house with a bit of flowers, then I always use these little bud vases, and I think they're so useful. I think that sunflower is definitely not going to look good in anything, so let's take that off. This snap, he is looking a little bit sad, but if you take off those bottom petals, chop him, and we'll pop him in there. I mean, if you had floristry wire, you could almost put some wire around just to make him stand upright a little bit more. There's the Lavatera. Those buds didn't open, but I think they look really pretty, so I'm going to keep them like that. Oh, we've got this, which is a bit of Dorcas Carota. I think that can go in a little bud vase. That's still looking nice. And this, again, these snapdragons, or I say snaps, antirrhinums, snaps, snapdragons. Again, I think that's quite pretty. I think we get a couple of days of that. Let's pop that in, just make it shorter. What else have we got? The Ami really does last long. Sammy Majors, and so I'm going to pop that up there. This can actually be dried. This larkspur, I've cut a load of this for drying. So you could decide to just dry it, or you could pop it in a little bud vase. Then what else have we got? The Achillea, that actually is great for drying. It holds the colour as well. So I've cut that nice and short and I'm popping that in the bud vase there. And then I've got some other Achillea here. So it is looking faded, but I still think that's worthy of being in a little vase. So again, I've got a little bit more, the clary sage as well, that's held its own. Chop that off, he can go in a little bud vase. And what else? A little bit more of this. This is the Verbena bunyaris. I'm going to pop that in there. That's fine. This cress I could definitely use. I'm just going to put that in at the end. I've got a little bit more ammi as well. I'm going to make that ammi short because we've got the larkspur in there. The feverfew, this also does dry well, but that's really lasted well. So what you could do is cut that up, and we've got feverfew this week, so that would last, that would be relevant for those of you that have got flowers just this week. You could put a bit of that in when you do it next week. This, I'm not gonna put it in the, now, but I'm gonna save that because that I think will be really pretty in dry flower wreaths and things. So I'm gonna save that, put that in my dry flower box. What else we've got? We've got some more Achillea, but I don't actually need it. I feel like I've actually got too much now, which is a good problem. I've got another snap that's a little bit bent, but he can go in there. And again, the bells of Ireland, look at the bottom, looking very sad. If you strip those off, most flowers that are kind of spires, they work upwards, the sort of the way that the things come out at the end, you know, the buds open at the end, so at the last, so I'm not saying that very clearly, the buds open.
The flowers start to open from the base.
Thank you.
And the buds at the top are the last ones to open.
Yes, so the flowers start to open from the base first, and the buds at the top are the last to open, so therefore the flowers that are fading first from the bottom. Got it out in the end.
And they keep going and going.
Yeah, exactly. So that can definitely go in there. I'm gonna, he's a bit bent. Let's pop him a little bit, there we go. If you cut it shorter, it stops it. So those I'm just gonna put to one side, and then we've got the cress. And the cress, I think, like the cress that we've got this week, we've got a different cress this week, which I'll talk about. But this is just, I love this sort of as the pretty, airy, light, dreamy kind of little elements that just make it a little bit whimsical. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of that in. I think that might be a bit too high, actually. Got some little bits there in that one.
You pulled out from a different flower at the same time.
Oh, did I? Oh yeah, I pulled that out. Oopsies. Right, it's really bugging me now that I've made a mess on here, so I'm just going to move that to one side and get rid of this, and then you can see these. But if you think then, we've had those flowers for a week, and the feedback that I'm getting from my flowers, both ones that have been bought locally and ones that have been bought by letterbox, is the amount of time that they last. They really do last longer than the ones you'd buy in a supermarket. So here are 3 very, very pretty bud vases made from all of the little left pieces that were still going strong, and you could put those on a table like that and they will still bring you joy. So yeah, these little bud vases. Now I'm going to talk to you about those little bud vases at the end, because I'm actually going to do a gift bouquet option with those, but let's get into our arranging, because that's what we're here to do. Okay, should be a bit calmer today because we've not got Jazzy today. She's going on holiday with her dad. We've just got Poppy, who's snortling around.
You can try her best.
Yeah, she'll try. She has had we thought we'd maybe distract her with a chew, which she's already eaten. So that's great, isn't it?
How many of them can she eat?
Yeah. So never mind. Let's hope Poppy doesn't go up on the table. Right, so let's start with all our preparation. Now, every week that I do this, I'm going to repeat it. So if you've seen this before, bear with us, because there's people who might be watching this for the first time. So let's just do it all together. So we're going to cut off leaves. So I'm taking off the sunflower leaves. Even if you like the sunflower leaves, what you sometimes find is they might wither and start to age sooner than the flower, and then they're going to make it look tired. So I'm taking that off. The sanguisulba doesn't need anything, so maybe just take off those little bits of leaves there. That's another little bit of light airiness. And then this is my calendula. Now calendula actually is an edible flower, and you can pick off the petals and scatter them on salads. Very pretty. And yeah, they do smell amazing, but you can take those leaves off. I think the leaves of calendula aren't special, and so taking those off and clearing the stems of those leaves that can make it look messy, a little bit like cornflowers. And once you do that, it's a much more elegant flower to work with. So we're taking that off. We have got some statice, so limonium. That doesn't need much. Again, anything that's a little bit unsightly, take off, but it should be fine. We've got some more Verbena boniaris. I had to fight the bees for that. They absolutely love it, as do the butterflies. And then we've got our snaps, and I'm just going to, I'll just put some snap leaf in my tea. We have got, I have sort of stripped them off roughly, the leaves, when I cut them, but just tidy them up a little bit with scissors, and any flowers that are looking a little bit tired, take those off. So we've got 2 snapdragons this week, so just take those off. Okay, and you'll notice the way I wrap the snapdragons, I wrap them separately, and it's just to help reduce the amount that they curl, because do we remember the name of what it's called, the science? They bend towards the light. Photo something. Let's find it out for next week. But basically, if the plant, and I've got plant snapdragons that have sort of fallen over. Yeah, they've fallen over in the wind or for whatever reason, but then they're like standing upright like that because they always point towards the light. So you can actually amend them and they can change. So this is the other crest. This is called emerald beads, Lepidum latin.
Is it Sabaton or is it not?
No, again, Latin's different, but difficult. But emerald beads, it's absolutely
I'll put it in the description.
Beautiful. Okay, wonderful. And this, you may think that it started to go brown and mine's a bit dead. It is not. This is the beauty of this stuff. It will go a pinky brown. It just is beautiful, and then it can be dried. So because it can be dried, it is meant to be a little bit crunchy and stiff. That's what it's meant to be like. So just take away any leaves. If you don't like the little bits of yellow leaves, you can just take them off and keep those stems nice and clear. Again, it's just going to look a lot more elegant if you take them off. Okay, so then the larkspur, that we might use that. That's probably not going to open. Well, it's pretty much definitely not going to open, but it's still an attractive little stem. And then I'm going to take those off. Okay, so I've got that. And then what else have we got? We've got some feverfew. So again, the leaves on this are leveling it down a bit, aren't they? They're just a little bit floppy and droopy, so let's just pull those off. And I find it easier doing this with scissors, with my hands. Those ones are okay, so I'm going to leave those on. Got a little bit more, I think that must have snapped off. I've got a little bit more of status. I've got a scabious pincushion flower. This is such a beautiful colour. I absolutely love that, and that will continue to open and bloom. And then also some astrantia in a really unusual dark colour as well to go with that. This is, I think, something died here. This looks like the sheep have got it. I believe there was heads on that. I think it was calendula, but it was an extra one.
It looks like a calendula.
It looks like a calendula, doesn't it? And then the last thing is this. Now you might have some Dorcas, and full disclosure, you know that I'm always honest about what mine stay like. I don't post mine to myself, but I put them in a box wrapped in the tissue just as you get them. And this week I left them in the car, which was a true test. And then I unwrap them at usually around 5 o'clock the following day. So, and for whatever reason, my Dorcas carota, which is a purpley pinky flat like that. Or we saw the white one, didn't we? This is the door. Here's some. That. Mine is completely shriveled up. But I always give you extra. So as in the kind of cost of all of this, the way I've costed it out, you always are going to get a couple of stems extra just in case something doesn't last. So that you will always have enough to make an arrangement. Now, this week I'm going to take all my leaves of my Bells of Ireland off. Now, some people like them on there and that's fine. There is a slight discoloration on some of these. Can you see those spots? I don't know if it's a nutrient deficiency or what it is, but it's not particularly sightly, so I'm going to take it off. Yours might be okay. You might want to leave the little ones on the top. Make that decision. I should probably warn you that Bells of Ireland, underneath, let me show you here, underneath here they have got spikes, something, a deterrent for stopping a rabbit or whatever eating them, and so just be careful that they're there. But if you're removing any of the flowers, the green flowers, if you remove them by pushing upwards, you won't hurt yourself. Actually, or even if you come down, as long as the flowers are there, you're usually okay, but they do get stiffer as the plant matures and so a little bit more vicious, but they're not going to cause anything. It's not like a nettle or anything like that. So we've got all our elements now. You can't actually see them, so let me bring them down here. We've got our elements, and I'm going to use my dad's jug this week. So we've obviously had a bigger vase last week. We had a bigger, rounder jug the week before. And what I was thinking of doing actually is, probably not as a live, but I was thinking of putting a video up here that shows you all the different vases you could use. So that you can kind of, if you're out and about and you see something, charity shops are my favourite place to look for vases. They're in Anthropology, but Anthropology is slightly more expensive. But yeah, and also I'm very lucky, I've got a dad who does pottery, so. And what I would like to do, although I'm very conscious that I don't want to do too much at this stage with things that you might not have at home, but I will one day do a bowl arrangement with a frog, the floristry frog, which is those metal things with the spikes. I need to probably try and find some way of being able to stock those so you can get them from me and maybe add them into your order if you're interested, because they're the sort of thing that once you've got one, you'll have it for life. They don't, you know, they're really solid. Right, so there we've got all our elements. So often what I do is I start with foliage, and the boldest foliage usually. So I'm going to start with that, okay? And then I'm going to put, what am I going to put in next? I'm going to put a snapdragon, okay? And then what we need to do is create different heights. So if you just get a bunch and it's all the stems are the same and you put it in, it all just kind of doesn't really do anything. So it's about creating different heights with the different textures. And I personally like a sunflower to sit quite low in the vase, because I feel like it hides the stems, and two, it showcases it a lot more. It doesn't get lost in all the other foliage and kind of plants and things. I'm going to put the other one in there, but I kind of don't want to what I don't want to do is like an exact mirror. I always think flowers look lovely if they're a little bit more asymmetrical, like they would be in the wild. So I'm going to have this one slightly lower, this snapdragon, so we're creating different heights. Then what am I going to do? I think I'm going to put some of this in. I'm going to put a bit of the emerald beads in. And I'm thinking about the stemminess. So this is very stemmy. And I don't think it's particularly, this is the official word, stemmy. I personally don't think it's a particularly attractive stem, but you know, it's different strokes for different folks. So what I'm going to do with my statice is I'm going to bunch it together like that, and I'm going to cut them, and I'm going to put it in quite low. And then I think it adds a really lovely texture, but it's not too stemmy. Then, because we have made our feverfew a little bit more elegant, let's see, that's too high, but I think we can make that stand out a little bit more. There we go, so that's sitting above the statice. This is quite a bold statement. Where to put that? Like that, upright like that. I think why not have that upright? And then the beautiful scabious, we're going to have to cut some length off that, and I'm hoping it's going to just fill that space there. Now, one thing to think about as well is I'm very much actually this week doing it one-sided as though it's going to go against something, but actually I need to think about what I'm doing at the back, because I'm going to leave this on my island, so there will be, I'll be looking at it from every side. So let's put some things in the back. So I'm going to put the astrantia at the back, and then if I leave that in the back there, it's going to poke through from here, which is really nice. I've got a bit of a space there, so I'm going to fill that with that. And then I've also got this, and normally I have this sticking out, but I think because I've still got a bit too much stem of my Bells of Ireland, that I'm going to...
Still a bit stemmy.
Still a bit stemmy. I'm going to put that in there. And then the sanguisorba, I don't like that there. I'm going to let that kind of stick in a bit upright. Obviously still make sure it's fitting into this water, and that's creating a little bit of air. And let's not forget this little lovely bit. There we go. Might just adjust that a bit so that's a bit better up there. Yeah, is that still too stemmy? Can I live with that? Yeah, it's better. You can also move that in front actually, that would be quite nice. What you'll find as well is you'll go round each day, I tweak them, because also as the plant matures it moves. I'm going to make that shorter, that's what I'm going to do. There, that's better. There we go. So different heights, different textures, creating the shape, going with the shape that the more dominant stems kind of determine, and working with that. So you sort of see I've got a sort of leaning bit here, allowing the elegant bits to froth up above it. The lightness of the emerald bead is lovely there, and then we've made anything that's the, you know, bunching things together, so you're creating a shape with those rather than just some random strands. That is it. Lovely. I think that's going to bring me joy. That's what flowers are about. And you can see it's quite a small vase, but we're not dealing with loads and loads of flowers. And the most common mistake, I think, well, mistake, it's not fair to say that because it's all very subjective, but the common thing that we often do is we put in not many flowers into a really big, tall vase, and then the vase takes the attention rather than the flowers. So if you've not got loads and loads and loads of stems, if you've got 30, 40 stems, then you can take a really big vase or a long vase, but if you've got this amount, then it's all about smaller receptors? No, reciprocal. Vessels, there we go, vessels. There we go. Let's turn it round for you. So I hope that has been interesting to follow and you've enjoyed that. And what I wanted to say is about gift bouquets. I've not managed, we've got a bit of an issue with the subscription service. I know some of you are waiting for me to be able to offer the letterbox flowers subscription, but we thought we'd sorted it and we had this wonderful plugin and it was all going to be okay. And then weirdly, it was doing something to our checkout. And then when people were trying to book onto the open day, it was throwing the thing back out of the basket. So something's conflicting, which is my experience of 12 years of websites, is you think you're there and then you basically lose it with something messes it up. So we're still working on that. However, I am ready to do gift bouquets and I'll be launching them this weekend. But I wanted to show you, I did one already, and I'll put up more photos on Instagram over the weekend, and if you're on the newsletter you'll see. But I'm basically going to do arrangements for gift bouquets that come as almost like a flat arrangement. So when they open the box, it will be perfectly arranged, and this is literally how it looked like in the box. And then they can just cut the stems, but keeping it in the position, and put it in a vase, and that is literally all beautifully displayed for them. So those will be available from this week, along with, or from next week, these 3 vases. So that arrangement would be £45, including postage to the UK. And this is a slightly cheaper, would be £35, and you'll get the 3 little bud vases, and then you'll get some shorter stems to put in them, so they'll have sort of the flowers to go in them. So those will be launching next week. you guys were here, so you got to hear about it first. Right, that I think is it for this week. Any feedback, guys? Has anyone managed to finish their flowers? How are they looking? Always nice to see if you know, pop something in the chat now. Also, don't forget to use the hashtag Jazzy Rose Flowers, and then we can all see your lovely creations. And I think that's always really nice if we can get a hashtag going, because then obviously it's nice to follow me, but it's really nice to follow what other people are doing and seeing how their flowers are looking in their house. That's something we always did with Sew Over It in terms of garments, and I think it really works well with flowers as well, to inspire each other, because we've all got different tastes and different eyes and different homes. So please do share them on Instagram with that. I'm not getting any comments. I think you all must be very busy doing your arranging, which is great. So I look forward to seeing those pictures. Share with me. If you're not even confident to share on your Instagram, you can send it to me on Instagram. I love seeing them on the private DMs as well. And I should also start to say all the YouTube stuff. Subscribe so that you don't miss the videos on here. Give it a thumbs up. It helps us be found by others. We'll put all the info in the description box. I managed to do that last week, so we will do that. Probably not going to do that for the next couple of days, because tomorrow it is the open day, and Allotment Lucy and I are going to leave here.
Yay.
And I'm going to get changed, because I am not going to the field like this, and we're going to go. Yeah, we're going to go down to the field, and we are going to do some more prep and harvesting for tomorrow's open day. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you to Allotment Lucy for being here and answering questions. And I will see you all next week. Oh, one more thing. I completely forgot to say about the extra bits from the garden, but we didn't really. Next week, what I'm going to do is do the same arrangement, and then I'm going to encourage you all to see if you've got a garden or a friend's garden or an obliging hedge, pick some extra bits, and you can see how you can add to your arrangements as well. So we'll arrange it exactly like this, and then we'll add to it with a bit of forage stuff as well, just to mix it up a little bit. Okay, bye, have lovely weekends.